I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've been married to Emily for about 3 years now. We met in college, and honestly, I thought we had a pretty solid relationship. At least, I did until the last few months. She's the kind of woman who always knew how to push my buttons, but I figured that was just her personality. She's smart, beautiful, ambitious, and she always knew how to charm her way out of trouble. We've had our ups and downs, sure, but I never suspected she'd actually cheat on me. The signs started subtly. She'd become more distant, spending a lot of time on her phone. At first, I just shrugged it off. Maybe work was stressing her out, or maybe she was just busy. But then, the little things started piling up. She'd get defensive when I asked about her day. She'd lie about where she was going, saying she was out with friends, but I'd notice she'd cancel plans last minute or her stories would change. It was frustrating, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I tried trusting her, tried giving her space. Then came the wedding rehearsal dinner. We were supposed to do a small, intimate thing with close friends and family. I was excited, finally, the day I'd marry Emily. But that night everything changed. I saw her with my best friend, Mike. They weren't just talking, they were very close, whispering, laughing like they shared some secret only they understood. I watched from the corner, stunned. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My stomach knotted up and I felt a cold sweat break out. How could she do this on the night before our wedding? And with my best friend, no less. It felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. I tried to play it cool, act like I didn't see anything, but I couldn't focus the rest of the night. Every time I looked at Emily or Mike, my mind raced with questions. Were they just friends? Was I overreacting? But deep down, I knew better. That wasn't just friendly banter. It was something more, something dirty. I felt betrayed, humiliated, embarrassed, and honestly devastated. How could she lie so blatantly? How could my best friend do this to me? I'd never thought. I'd be that guy whose wife cheated on him with his best friend. The whole thing felt like a punch in the gut, and I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I spent hours staring at my phone, trying to process what I saw and what it meant for my future. The next day, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind kept circling back to that moment at the rehearsal dinner. How could Emily be so bold? She always acted like she was the queen of the world, but that night, the mask slipped. I started noticing more things, little clues I'd ignored before. Her phone had been unusually quiet, and she was more evasive when I tried to talk about our upcoming wedding. I thought maybe I was just paranoid. After all, we'd had arguments before, but nothing like this. But then I remembered the messages I saw on her phone during the after-party. I hadn't looked too closely at the time. I was just overwhelmed and angry, but I knew I had to check again. So late that night, I snuck into her room, quietly grabbed her phone from her purse, and started scrolling through her messages. My heart was pounding. I already knew what I'd find, but seeing it confirmed was a whole different level of gut-wrenching. And there they were, texts, emojis, secret messages exchanged between her and Mike. No, not just innocent stuff. There were explicit conversations, flirtatious comments, plans to meet up later that week. I saw pictures, too, her in bed, in lingerie, sending selfies that made my stomach churn. It was like I'd found the ultimate proof she was screwing around behind my back. I couldn't believe I was looking at this. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut again, only this time it was with reality. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling numb. For a long moment I couldn't breathe. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Did she plan this from the start? Was she just using me all along? I didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal itself or the fact that I'd been blind to it for so long. I wanted to scream, cry, or just break something. Instead, I just closed her phone and sat in silence, feeling like my world was falling apart. All I could think about was what to do next. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I had to confront her. But I also knew that this was only the beginning of a long, painful road. The confrontation didn't come right away. I needed time to think, to process what I'd found. I spent that day walking around in a fog, trying to piece everything together. I kept telling myself it was all a mistake, maybe just a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew better. The evidence was too clear, too damning. Emily was lying about everything. her whereabouts, her feelings, her innocent flirtations. She's always been a master of spinning stories and twisting words, and I knew she'd come up with some bullshit to try and spin her way out of this mess. That night, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I needed answers, and I needed her to face the truth. I called her into the living room, trying to stay calm but feeling like my insides were on fire. When she walked in, all smiley and pretending she didn't know what I was about to say, I felt a surge of anger. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Emily, I saw your messages. I know what you've been doing. How long has this been going on?" The moment those words left my mouth, her face changed. She started lying right away, her voice getting high-pitched and defensive. "Jake, I don't know what you're talking about. Those messages must have been hacked or something. You're paranoid. You're overthinking it." She played innocent, like she was the victim, like I was the crazy one for even suggesting such a thing. She kept repeating her lies, telling me she loved me, that it was just sex, just some stupid flirtation with Mike that meant nothing. She made it sound like I was blowing things out of proportion, like I was the one with the problem, but I wasn't buying it. I saw through her bullshit because I'd already gone through the messages more carefully. I knew how often she'd been lying. I knew the tone of those texts. I knew she'd been sneaking around for weeks, so I pushed harder. "Did you sleep with him?" I asked. Her eyes flickered and she hesitated, then snapped back with a bitchy smirk. "You're crazy. You're just jealous because I'm more attractive than his stupid wife. I don't owe you any explanations." That's when I realized this wasn't going anywhere. She was going to keep lying, keep defending her actions, and I was just wasting my time trying to get honest answers out of her. I felt the rage boiling inside me. I was furious, not just at her betrayal but at myself for ever trusting her. I had built a life with this woman, and now I saw her for what she truly was, a manipulative, lying, cheating bitch. I knew I had to get out of there before I lost my mind. I told her to leave, to get out of my sight. Her smirk only grew wider as she stormed off, leaving me alone with that crushing realization. The woman I thought I knew was nothing but a lie, and I just uncovered it in the worst way possible. The aftermath of that night was something I wouldn't wish on anyone. I've never felt so betrayed, so utterly destroyed inside. I kept replaying everything. The way she lied, the way she smirked when she knew she was getting away with it. It wasn't just the affair, it was the fact that she'd been manipulating me for months, maybe longer. Every moment I'd thought she was just busy or stressed, she was sneaking around, sending those filthy messages, planning to meet Mike behind my back. It was like waking up from a nightmare, only there was no waking up. This was real. I couldn't stay in that house. The walls felt like they were closing in on me. I packed a bag, not even sure where I was going, just needing distance from her, from the betrayal. I drove around for hours trying to clear my head, but all I could think about was how much I loved her, how I'd given her everything, and how she'd thrown it all away for some stupid quick sex with my best friend. The thought made my stomach turn. I kept asking myself what I'd done wrong, what I could have done differently to stop her, but I knew deep down that it wasn't about me. It was her, and her pathetic need for validation from someone like Mike. Over the next few days, I started to realize how much I'd been blind. She'd always had this bitchy attitude, always so dismissive when I brought up my concerns. She'd roll her eyes or call me insecure, but now I saw her for what she really was, a liar who didn't care about anyone but herself. It was a hard pill to swallow. I felt so angry, so hurt, that I wanted to tear her apart with my words, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. Finally, I had the truth, and honestly, I felt a little more free knowing I didn't have to live in her lies anymore. I reached out to some friends for support, and honestly, some of them told me I should just walk away, that I deserved better than a woman who could cheat on her wedding day and lie about it. Others said I should fight for her, try to fix things, but I knew that wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want to be some fool who stayed after she'd betrayed me so openly. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. I realized I'd been holding onto some hope that she'd change, but now I knew she wouldn't. She'd always be that bitchy, lying woman who thought she could manipulate everyone around her. So I made my decision. I was done. I told her I wanted a divorce. I didn't want to be around her anymore. I needed to rebuild my life without her sneering at me, without her constant lies and betrayal. It hurt like hell, and I know I'll carry that pain for a long time, but I also feel a strange sense of liberation. I'd gone through hell, but I finally saw her for who she was. And I know now that I deserve better. Someone who doesn't cheat, doesn't lie, and doesn't treat me like I'm disposable. The hardest part is accepting that I trusted her, believed in her, and she threw all of it away for some quick sex and a few secret messages. That's what hurts the most, honestly. Knowing I was blind and she was just playing me all along. After I made up my mind to move on, everything felt like a blur. I knew I needed to get everything out of my head and start the process of healing, but honestly, it was easier said than done. I found myself replaying every moment, every little sign I ignored, every time I brushed off my gut feeling, every stupid argument, every time I told myself she was just stressed or busy. I was furious at myself for not seeing it sooner, for not trusting my instincts. But at the same time, I was angry at her more than angry. I was disgusted. The divorce was messy, as you might expect. She threw fits, called me insecure, tried to guilt-trip me into staying. She lied even more, claiming I was paranoid, that she'd never cheat, that I was overreacting because I was jealous or insecure. But I didn't buy any of her bullshit anymore. The truth was out, and it was ugly. I filed the papers, and honestly, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. Part of me still loved her, or at least cared about the woman I thought I knew. But I also knew that staying with her would have meant accepting her lies and betrayal. During this time, I also confronted Mike. I didn't want to blow up his life, but I needed answers. I found out that they'd been seeing each other behind my back for a few months, longer than I'd realized. The worst part: Mike didn't even seem to care. He just shrugged and said Emily was hot and fun, like I was some kind of obstacle in their stupid game. That pissed me off even more. How could my supposed best friend treat me like that? How could Emily just throw away everything we had for some meaningless sex with him? It was sickening. I tried to focus on rebuilding myself. I threw myself into work, started hitting the gym, and spent time with friends. But the scars from that betrayal lingered. Every now and then I'd wake up with that sick feeling, like I'd been duped, used, and discarded. I kept asking myself why I didn't see it coming, why I was so blind to her true nature. Honestly, I think I wanted to believe she'd never do something like this, so badly that I ignored all the warning signs. I kept telling myself I deserved better, but some days it still hurt like hell. Looking back now, I realize I learned a lot. I learned not to dismiss my instincts, no matter how much I want to see the best in people. I learned that some women are just manipulative, bitchy, and selfish, and that's on them, not on me. And I learned that sometimes you have to lose someone to realize your worth. I don't regret divorcing her because I know it was the right choice, but I do wish I'd seen the signs earlier. Maybe I could have saved myself some pain. Still, I guess every scar teaches us something. Mine taught me to trust myself more, to never ignore my gut again, and most of all, that I'm better off without someone who treats love like a game she could throw away at any moment. If anyone's ever in a similar situation, I'd tell them, trust your instincts, get out fast, and don't let anyone make you feel less than you deserve. You're worth more than some girl hiding behind lies and secret messages. Now that I've gone through everything, I spend a lot of time reflecting on what all this really means. Honestly, I feel like I've been hit by a freight train, but at the same time, I see things a lot more clearly than I did before. Betrayal like that cuts deep, but it also wakes you up. I've learned to listen to my instincts and to trust myself more. I've learned that some women, no matter how charming or beautiful, are just manipulative and selfish, and that's something I can't ignore anymore. And I've learned that I don't have to settle for someone who treats love like a game or a joke. Most importantly, I've realized that I'm stronger than I thought. Yes, I'm hurt, yes, I'm angry, and yes, I feel like I lost part of myself. But I also know I'm capable of rebuilding better, smarter, and more cautious. I don't regret leaving her, even with all the pain it caused. I feel free now. Free from the lies, the betrayal, and the constant doubt. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. If I could give any advice to someone else going through this kind of heartbreak, it would be this. Don't ignore your gut. When something feels wrong, it probably is. Trust yourself enough to walk away when you see the signs, even if it hurts in the short term, because staying will only make things worse. You deserve someone who respects and values you, not someone who sneaks around, lies, and betrays your trust. This whole experience has taught me a harsh but valuable lesson. Never sacrifice your self-worth for someone who isn't willing to do the same. I'm still healing. Still angry at her and Mike, but I'm also grateful. Grateful that I found the courage to face the truth and walk away. It's not the ending I imagined, but it's the one I needed. And I'll come out of this stronger, more aware, more cautious, and finally ready to find something real again.